Okay, we continue learning Hilchos Bayer. We're up to Sif Chaf. Up to Sif Chaf, we finished off with Sif Yutes, which was bug removal from your soup. And I think we read it a little bit fast, but basically what happened is, we said you're allowed, this was the heter that you're allowed to move the pseilas together with some eichel. And we pointed out that if there is just one dot of liquid on the bug, that is not called enough. That's the machlekes Chazon Ish and Mishnah Berurah. If you look at the top line of the Ha'aros in page Nun Tes, is where he says, Ayin Chazon Ish, the Ishleimar, Shamayim shemetabchen al guf hazav, the liquid that is floating on the body of the fly, Shem taroives alehem. Val karcha chashe bayer legabi hamayim, Shem teifchen al guf hazav ubein esan pairav, and between the wings. And that's why we say that if you want to be mekel on this heter, don't just remove it with one dot extra, but rather remove a whole tarayvis. So you have a bowl of soup, and then if you remove a spoonful of a fly, then it's its own mini tarayvis. That was Sif Yutes. We move on to Sif Chaf, a sansenet. What is a sansenet? You look in the back, you see it's a jar, shel gevina, of gevina levana, oy lavan, umadnei chalav. These are some Israeli delicacies. Which is which? I never remember. Yeah, this is where we're going to get involved. The Spendachav are getting very excited. But this is different types of, whether it's cream cheese, whether it's sour cream, whether it's yogurt. I don't know. They all look the same. These different types of things. Some people drink them. Some people eat them. Some people smear them. Different things to do with them. But the point is, she'etztabru bahem michalav. The michal of the whey is floating. There's some liquid there. What do you do? Aser lishboich esmei chalav. You're not allowed something which I think many would do instinctively. No, reflectively. Both are not the perfect word, but both actually are half right. Take it and just pour out the excess liquid. You're not allowed to. Ele imkein yishboich yachad imahem gam ksas mina oichel. The only way you could do it is if you pour together with it some oichel. V'chein, and similarly, ein lishboich as a shemen shebetoich kufsat sardinim. You're having a wonderful shalashuddis, of course. What do you have? Sardines. What could be better? So what do you want to do? You want to pour out the liquid. Not allowed to. Oy tuna or tuna. Elo, what do you do? Yoitzias adogim. You pull out the fish. The Yeshayas Hashem, and you leave the oil on the bottom. You can use a spoon. It's a dogim and Hashem. Which we'll get to, spoons and whatnot. So we just said something very important. You open up a jar and you want to pour out the liquid. You're not allowed to. That is called fire. Now, be mindful. He did not just say to take the cover of the tuna and squeeze down. That's for sure a problem. What he said is just to pour out the liquid. Now, whether there might be some level of heter, which we're not going to get involved in today, if there's excess liquid, if there's a ton of liquid, which again, I don't, every jar of tuna fish looks different, but maybe if there was like a whole layer of liquid floating on top, that might be something different. There might be a ramaish about that, but we're not getting involved in that today. That's what he said. He said it's okay. He said as long as you're taking food together with the pseilas. So if you're taking tuna fish, you want to take out the liquids, you want to pull out some of the tuna with the fish. As long as what you're removing is some food with the bad, that would be good. But he ends off, ulam, however, b'shemurei milafefainim, which is called pickles, very good. Mutter lishich is a mayim mehem. Then you're allowed to pour off the water. Why are you allowed to pour out the brine from the pickles? So you look at Sahara Memehei, and he references you back to Hara Zayin, and he says it's not called a Tarayves. What was Hara Zayin? Hara Zayin was our matzah ball in the bowl of soup, was the Shemiras Shabbos, was the carrot on top of your gefilte fish, was things which are floating large and small, which do not get a shame Tarayves. Now, therefore, he's saying it's mutter. Now, what's the difference between the liquid from the pickles versus the liquid between the sardines? So you look at Hara Memdalid, and in Memdalid he says, because over there it's Vadayat HaRoives, because you're getting the oil from between the fish, because the sardines are lying, the name it is, right? What are sardines? It's smashed. So they're lying, so you're getting the liquid from between, whereas pickles are large, therefore it's not. If you don't understand this, it could be because you're thinking of very small pickles. Whereas if you have a larger pickle jar, so you're in a chanami, you're all asking a good question. You're asking a good question. The answer is, once it is Once it is discernible, pickle chips would be a good one because pickle chips l'chayr will be very similar to sardines because then you're going to have the liquid in between. So therefore, one has to be mindful, which also, we're not getting involved in opening jars today, but many have, what they do is they stab the jar in many places. Whether they have to or not discussion. What they do is they stab the bottom, they stab the top, then they open the top. Just be mindful. If you're going to stab the bottom, be like, oh, let me let the liquid seep out from the bottom and then open the top. Very good. You were being machmir and opening a jar. You just over bayrer de'araisa. Before we move on to Sif Chav Aleph, just to point out, in Ha'ara Mem Aleph, he says an interesting case. Just to point out, because I know a lot of the Sfarim bring down this case. We just said that you're allowed to remove a fly from your soup with a little bit of soup. We'll just open up our minds. What if you have a lot of flies in your soup? So the answer at this point is no one in the world is doing this. This is one of those things that should just stay in this farm. But let's say you have tons of flies in your soup. So each fly you want to take out with a spoonful of soup. The chayra, it sounds fine. He quotes on the bottom of here, it's a Taz. And he says that if there is, V'oi shamati from Shemiras Shabbos, I'm in the last 5 lines of Ha'ara Mem Aleph. Shegam bataz einay matir elu b'zvov echad oy shnayim. Ba'oifet shloi b'chol ha'meichel mu'ravim zvuvim. Is that the whole food is called flies? Aval mefuzarim b'yahar b'zvuvim. Shaber aser gam mitzvim ma'at min ha'oichel mikivat shekol ha'oichel mu'ravim apseilas zvuvim etukan oisai v'ayin in Avram, fine, that's something else. Good. So that's just an interesting. What? It didn't help us. It's a chumrah. But again, I just don't think the case is normal. I know a lot of this farm bring it down. So if you're going to see it in a sefer, they want to be machmir. If you have a lot of flies, and even though each fly had its own individual head of removing oichel with psiles, but if the sum total is that you did this 20 times and now you have a bowl of soup without any flies, you also don't have so much soup. That soup is probably gross if there were 20 flies sitting in it. But let's say still that case of Shom Zalman wants to be machmir. So very good. It's not a Varden eating it. The Vard is, and again, good. You're asking a good question. The answer is, and the simple way to explain it, if I have one fly, the whole bowl is not considered ruined. That one fly with the area around it, that's its own mini tarayves, and therefore I can remove that without causing the rest of the bowl an issue. Masha'enkin, if the whole thing was loaded, even though, why can I view it as 20 mini things? Because once you have 20 mini things, that means the whole thing is mixed up. It's a chiddush. Let's move on. Siv Chaval. Also, litin, lemon, oy, sida. And again, we're going to read this fast for the scientists amongst us. You want to put lemon, oy, calcium, into milk. Why are you doing this? Because, of course, you make cheese. La say gavina. Okay, they kacha gavina nefredes. It causes it to spread. Mi me'achalav ishvas yasa afradazu misham iser bayer. What is going on here? I have no clue, but it is an iser bayer. The one case that I can think of that might be nagea from over here is I don't know, probably have these science kids things. You put this item and that item and the two things separate. I don't know what it is, but it's an iser bayer. Don't do it. To point out in Ha'ara Mem Vav, he has a very good kasha. It's not a good kasha. So Shemiras Shabbos, but we don't really understand what's going on there yet. So if you want to star Mem Vav, we will come back to Mem Vav b'siyata dishmaya. Let's move to Chav Beis. Chav Beis is very important. Chav Beis is washing off fruits and vegetables. A very common scenario. We're not going to be able to get out of safe over here, but we're going to get a little bit. Peiros or yerakos. Sheroitz and the shoyt from b'mayim. You want to wash off fruits or veggies and water menapsil shalem from the garbage on them. Yesh lahavdil. So he introduces this tip by telling us you should be mindful and differentiate between psilas hamuravos im apeiros. Do you have psilas? Do you have dirt with the fruit? Lebein psilas hadvukais al gabe apeiros, or is it just psilas that is stuck on top of the fruit? Now, it sounded like one and the same. Let's see what's going on over here. Again, we're talking about, can I take my apple and wash it onto the sink? It's going to somewhat open our mind. Can I take lettuce and wash it under the stream? We're not going to get to lettuce because that's a separate shayla with bugs. We're not dealing with bugs today. We're dealing with dirt. Can I take lettuce and wash it? Says Shemiras Shabbos. Peiros or yerakos. This is category A. Shemuravim be'em pseiles kolshi. There's a little bit of pseiles within the peiros or yerakos. Ve'ein roiv b'nei adam eichlon. I say very important. People don't eat it. People do not eat it. If you look at Ha'ara Mem Tes, He says, if people do eat it, there's no Isser Bayer, which, whether this might sound like a Chiddush or not, think this might be more relevant in Eretz Yisrael. The people use the Brita filters here in America. Yeah, there you go. We have crazy people in America also. Baruch Hashem. So when one gets married, part of the marriage is the Brita filter. And of course, you don't want to spend money on the water bottles. What do? You buy the Brita filter, and yeah, it tastes the same as the water bottles, right? And for about a day, and you never change the filter for about 6 years. And then one day you wonder, hey, is this a problem on Shabbos? It says, Mamish Bayer. It's Mamish Bayer. I'm putting water in, and it's filtering in, and the whole 9 years. So the answer, Pashtus, is it's mutter. And the reason is, Roiv b'nei Adam drink the water without putting it through the Brita. You might want an extra maila, so Roiv b'nei Adam drink it. There is a sidebar sugya which we're not getting involved in, depending on how low that thing goes into your water. It's a due story. There's a Sefer Shulchan Aruch. The Sefer Shulchan Aruch says, there's a Sefer Shulchan Aruch that says, if Roiv b'nei Adam drink the water, then it is allowed to be drunk on Shabbos. In Eretz Yisrael, this becomes more relevant because there people think it gives you stomach issues, and it does give you stomach issues, and you're on vacation, and the first week you move there, the second month you move there, then you decide to find out that the ice cubes that you've been drinking all are unfiltered water, right? Here, you become sick for the next week when you find out about it, and then you want to know, what about cooking with it? Are you allowed to cook with it? Okay, this is Baruch Hashem, part of the Eretz Yisrael, Nikne B'Yisurim. But back to us, we're talking about fruit that people do not drink, do not eat. If people ate it, there's no shayla. Sir, what are you not allowed to do? Lisitam b'mayim. Kadesh apsalas teir atalam mehem. You're not allowed to soak them in water so that the water psalas comes off. V'chein. And similarly, Sir lishtayv psalas like these zeramayim. You're not allowed to rinse it on the water. Shekein gamba zeish mishma afradas psalas min ha'echel. Because that is called removing psalas from the food. Aliyachen v'yishtayv v'zaberes v'erev Shabbos. What do you got to do? You got to do it on Erev Shabbos. Things that people do not eat. I'm not talking about bugs. Leave the whole bug discussion out. It's a totally different discussion. That's our Isser Derav Yaleh. It's a new discussion which we're not talking about. We're talking about dirt. Fruits that people don't eat because of the dirt. For example, the good old fashioned, it's coming back in the news, Baruch Hashem, the Gush Katif lettuce. That what is on it, all it is sand. Sand, nothing else. So what he just said is because the sand is not davuk to it, it's sort of floating between the items, that you are not allowed to be washed on Shabbos. V'ulam, however, he continues, if the psailas is davuk to the peiros, it's on the fruit, avak, or there's dirt dust, which is the insecticides that they say they spray on all the fruits, which is why everyone's mother and grandmother told you have to wash off the fruit before you eat it. Don't worry, your Ramesh is about the way. Mutter. Those you're allowed. Lahasir said, "I these arms my malayim." It's let the water stream go on it. Vyasa came, but you should do it samach lachila. He says. V'chein, similarly, mutter lick life. This is really where the heter comes from. That when it's davuk, when it's stuck to the fruit, it gets the din of a klipa, gets the din of a shell, and just like you let it remove the shell of your orange, you let it wash off your apple. Lick life bears your is going to tonight. I'll offer davuk bamboo. She asks Zeus. We should do it again. Samach le'achila. And finally, we're going to have to see two footnotes. Let's just see the end of the sif. Is mutal asir zavak of chamer. He says af al yidei shif shavabri biyad. You're also allowed to remove it by scrubbing it with your hand. Oy b'matlas yavesha, or dry towel. You want to wipe off the side of your apple. V'gam es aluk chadavuk b'pri. Mutal asir biyad. If there's something on top, you let it remove it. Lefnei achilas pri. From here, if it's clean fruit and you want to soak it in disinfectant, then that's the end of the sif, which we're not talking about right now. So what did he just say? He said, if the fruit is not normally consumed, you're not allowed to eat it. If the fruit is davuk to it, then you're allowed to wash it. But he gave you two stipulations. We're going to have to stop. We'll pick it up from here. Stipulation number one is, he said, is you should do it underneath the stream. Obviously not what's he talking about, not in a bowl. Doesn't want you to put in a bowl. Number one, he's going to stay in the bottom because then it gets you involved in a shell of a daraisa, of a bayra bikli. And number two is he wants you to do it samach lachila. He wants you to do it right before you eat it. And the basic understanding is, and from here we'll pick up, is every time you peel something, you're allowed to peel something on Shabbos, but you're only allowed to peel it samach lachila right before you eat it. We'll just make mention, is there another level here, which is maybe at the end what he's talking about? Is there a level called it's not really dirty? We just wash it off because that's what we do. But it's not just roiv b'nei adam, we eat it. Everyone eats it. We wash it because whatever, there might be some dirt, there might be someone that touched it. There is, and on that level, that's where a Moshe L'chayer is going to weigh in. And at that level, we'll see that the pashtus is you're allowed to even do it, not samach la'achila. And Shem Zalman is going to say that perhaps even he'll be making not samach la'achila, but we'll pick up and we'll finish off washing of the fruits and vegetables b'siyata d'shemaya.